Woomer's victory in Honolulu last year signaled the sunset of another UHRA season and the end of an era. But now is the dawn of a new era as Dave Villwock climbs back into the cockpit in pursuit of the championship that got away from him. The Miss Budweiser has pursuers trying to get by her. Steve David and Jim Harvey's boat would love to stop the charge. And Mark Evans in the Pico American Dream has dreams of his own. The battle begins today. Welcome to ESPN Speed World coverage of Ralph's UHRA Thunder Tour 1998, presented by Las Vegas at the Pontiac Grand Am Thunder on the Ohio in Evansville, Indiana. Dave Villwock began last season in grand fashion. 4 victories for Bernie Little and the Miss Budweiser in 4 starts. But tragedy struck in Tri-Cities, ending a quest for a championship that begins anew now. Hello, everybody. I'm John Nicholson, and I have with me the man himself, Dave Villwock. 15 surgeries, and 11 months later, here you are back racing and racing fast. What's it like to be back in the cockpit, Dave?
It's a lot of fun. I mean, the guys have done a great job all winter long, and I've worked out extensively, to get my body in better shape than probably ever. So, we're excited about this year.
You went through a terrible experience, all those surgeries, and more to come. Is there any fear out there?
No, the guys have done a tremendous job. There's a whole new capsule in Miss Budweiser's, actually both Miss Budweisers, and I just feel really safe in there.
How about steering?
Steering's great. Like as I said, I worked out at least 3 times a week, 3 hours a day, all winter long to really rehab my arm and my hand, and we did a lot of things with the steering wheel and the steering systems in the cockpit. And actually, to tell you the truth, it's easier to steer the boat this year than it was last year.
He's back. He's confident, going fast. Dave Villwock and the Budweiser, in fact, the team to beat here in Evansville. There's a big change in this year's tour. Let's go to Steve Montgomery.
John, this is the clock that we'll be talking about throughout the 1998 season. The start clock is back in unlimited hydroplane racing. As you can see, it reads 5 minutes right now, and that's about the time most of the drivers choose to leave the dock and move on to the race course. Their job then is to arrive at, but not across, the start-finish line as this big clock ticks down to 0. Now, keep in mind, they are traveling at about a football field per second, so that is not an easy task, but these guys have been doing it for years, and they are experts. How important is it that they actually see this display from the cockpit? Well, as we all know, they all have radios now, and somebody counting down in their ear as well.
Thank you, Steve. Now, before we go to our first clock start of the day here in the Ohio, let's first turn back the clock to April in Phoenix, Arizona. Plenty of people on hand to watch the top finishers on last year's tour battle each other on Firebird Lake. Here is the Big Miss Budweiser. Mark Webber, who is now the backup driver, was driving here. There, of course, Mark Evans, driver of Pico, always full of personality. And his competition in the head-to-head final, driving Jim Harvey's prime star, Steve David. Well, Pico would win the shootout. Pico would be favored, you would think, early in the season. But did that bother Steve David? Apparently not. Get a load of this when he comes back onto the shore.
Good job, buddy.
Congratulations. You bet. Man, the old sea monster got you out there, too.
What happened?
That was April in Arizona. Now we're in Evansville several months later. Let's take a look at how the first heat went here. Going into Heat 1A, this boat, the RS Eastern Hotels, had never been in the water before at all, so no telling how fast it would go. Pretty fast, you'd guess. It's the number 3 boat in the Fred Leland camp, but the odds-on favorite was the number 1 boat, Pico American Dream, with Mark Evans driving. It would take a major upset for the U3 with Mark Webber driving to win, or for his brother Mike Webber to pull off the upset in the Carpenter Communications. Well, never count out a major upset. Problems early on for the RS Eastern Hotels. They had to bail water out of the cockpit to get it up and running, but indeed they did, and off Rick Christensen went. The early leader in the race, the Pico American Dream, with, of course, Mark Evans driving, but getting a run from Mike Webber in the Carpenter Communications. Not so good for the piston-powered boat, the Master Tire. Difficult times. Right at the end, sure enough, Mike Weber goes by the Pico and gets the win in Heat 1A. So as I said, never count out an upset. The results, 400 points for Carpenter. Steve Montgomery talked with the winner.
Mike, I think Mark Evans was a little surprised. Were you?
Oh, yeah. We struggled all weekend. It finally all came together for us.
On this beautiful day in Evansville, there is a feeling of something missing. Earlier this year, the UHRA lost an integral part of itself. Steve Montgomery now with a tribute to Steve Woomer.
Steve Woomer came to love hydroplane racing as a boy growing up in Seattle's Rainier Valley, a short bike ride from the historic race course on Lake Washington.
You know, I used to hear the noise from my folks' home over in Rainier Valley and trudge over the hill to the Stan Sayers pits. And in fact, actually, even before that, when they were down south a little bit at the marina, and, just always intrigued me.
The 1998 hydroplane racing season would have been Steve Woomer's 15th as an owner, and he had spent the off-season making sure it would be his best. Rescinding a retirement announced at the end of the 97 season, he had added former Budweiser crew chief Ronnie Brown to a team that already included Jim Lucero, the winningest crew chief in the history of the sport. His racing family had become a super team.
People don't realize that we get very emotionally involved with our people, our crews, our driver. I mean, they become family. And that's something that you fight to stay a little ways away from, but you eventually give into it, and you become a very close-knit group. That's one of the fun things about it, is that closeness.
In his 14 seasons, Steve was second only to his friend and arch-rival Bernie Little in podium finishes. His team found the winner's circle 15 times, including 2 Gold Cups. His best season came in 1995 with 4 wins and 4 second-place finishes with Mark Tate driving the camel-powered Smokin' Joes.
I probably have the same dream that Bernie does, and that's to win every race in an entire season. But to be a realistic, I mean, you know, obviously our goal is to win a national championship. We've come awful close. We haven't been that lucky, but, you know, we'll get there, and we'll keep trying until we do, and boy, we'll have a hell of a party when we get there.
A party that would never happen. The 1997 season would be Steve Woomer's last. It ended with Steve, driver Mark Tate, and the close call racing team on the winner's stand after a perfect weekend on Pearl Harbor. Steve Woomer died of a heart attack on April 22nd, just 1 month after his 58th birthday.
ESPN Speed World coverage of the Pontiac Grand Am Thunder on the Ohio is brought to you by Las Vegas. Anything can happen, and usually does when it comes to special events. By Ralph's. And by O'Doul's non-alcoholic brew. It's what beer drinkers drink when they're not drinking beer.
The return of the clock start to unlimited hydroplane racing expected to benefit a few of the veteran drivers who had been doing that for many years. Primarily, Steve David, considered a master of the clock start. So Heat 1B, guess who started dead last?
As we pick up the highlights of Heat 1B, Ken Muscatel cutting across the infield, trying to get position for that start on the Budweiser and Art Construction, but it did not work for Ken in Miss Northwest. Budweiser with Dave Villwock grabs it at the start. Then Muscatel, and you see Steve David trailing. Now Villwock roaring out to the lead in the big red boat. His first heat back after that terrible accident last year in Tri-Cities. Up and running fast in the Bud. Not so for the Appian Geronimo. Mitch Evans finds himself dead in the water, out of the race. And Villwock opening up the lead. Muscatel hanging on. Steve David also hanging on behind. And Steve would move up. But Dave Villwock was not about to be challenged. He took the checkered flag, and there is 1 in a row for Budweiser. Steve David was second, and Muscatel third. Steve Montgomery talked with the Bud owner, Bernie Little.
Well, it's official. The season's underway. Does it feel good?
Well, it really does. Can't win them all if you don't win the first one. And Dave has went through an awful lot to be able to get back and drive the Miss Budweiser. And he proved that he earned that ride. He'll do fine.
Dave Villwock also earned 400 points for the Miss Budweiser team as we check the standings. Art Construction 300, Miss Northwest 225. Steve talked with Dave.
Hey.
Hey, congratulations. You earned that ride.
David, back in the saddle, how does it feel?
It's good to be back, and the Budweiser, the king of beers. I'll tell you that, boy.
That's a lot of off-season coming together right there, isn't it?
A lot off season. Guys really worked hard, and I think you showed the performance of the boat, how good it really ran. You know, thanks to the entire crew, Budweiser. I'm very appreciative. People have a lot of confidence in me to come back and to try to do this again.
An understandably emotional Dave Villwock, but he's got that first win under his belt. When we come back, Heat 2A at Thunder on the Ohio. Welcome back to Evansville. John Nicholson with Steve Montgomery, and plenty going on a beautiful, hot, sunny day above the Ohio. A live band on hand to entertain the crowd, and the folks are rocking and rolling in between the heats. Meanwhile, down in the pits, the president stopped by. The president of Anheuser-Busch, that is August Busch III, coming out to visit and chat with Dave Villwock about innovations on the boat. You got to tell the boss what's making the boat go fast, and of course, he's concerned too about how Dave personally is making out. Then some other folks to visit with, and a tour from his old buddy, the ex-Budweiser owner, Bernie Little, Mark Smith, the crew chief, and some of the other guys who make the big red boat go as fast as it does. Then offer a tour of the rest of the pits, and while they were away, our Steve Montgomery took a good close-up look at them as Budweiser.
John, ever the innovators, the Budweiser team has some new stuff for 98. As a result of the crash in 97, the steering wheel has been especially designed to allow Dave Villwock to get a good grip with his remaining fingers. The cockpit has been reshaped and reinforced. It should now withstand an impact from the rear as well as it does from the front. And, of course, born on dating.
The Budweiser will be running in Heat 2B. We're set now for Heat 2A. The boat's getting on the water. Here is the lineup as we're about 4 minutes away on the clock. Master Tire with Mark Webber, RS Easton Hotels, Ken Muscatel, and Mark Evans. Pico American Dream has had its troubles, as we saw in Heat 1A and the highlights. A lot of difficulty. What the heck happened there? Well, Steve Montgomery caught up with the driver.
The Leland team appeared to be down on power a little bit, both boats in the running of Heat 1. Mark Evans, you need more boat or more horsepower?
Oh, we got the boat. The boats are great. We just need more horsepower. There's nothing on the throttle right now, and we just need more.
Mark Evans and the Leland team hoping for a better result here in Heat 2.
Both the Leland boats will be here in Heat 2A. Rick Christensen here driving the RS Easton Hotels. But back at the dock, that's Ken Muscatel. We're coming up on 3 minutes to go. He needs to get going, Steve.
He really does, John. As we pointed out in the open, the drivers like to be on the race course at about the 5-minute mark. He does still have time, though. And here's the big difference, John, between this season and last. Almost 3 minutes to go before the start of the race, but this is a very critical part of the competition. All the boats and drivers milling for position, and Rick Christensen in the RS Easton has to worry about all that and learn how to handle a brand new boat.
Now, of course, he and Mark Evans are teammates. Will he cut Mark a break if it comes down to that in setting up for position?
I think we're more likely to see that, John, later in the season. Right now, Rick has his hands full just trying to get this new hull dialed in.
While he works on that, back at the dock, looks like good news for the Ken Muscatel team.
That is a good sign, John, as crew chief Jay Leckrone puts the lid down on the canopy. They still have time to make it into this heat.
But we're coming down on 2 minutes to go, so Ken Muscatel is going to have to hustle to make that start. We'll see if he does. Heat 2A when we come back. Welcome back to Evansville. Ralph's Hydroplane Thunder Tour presented by Las Vegas. We are at Thunder on the Ohio, the opening race of the season, coming down toward the start of Heat 2A. You can see in the upper left-hand corner of your screen, 15 seconds to go. RS Easton Hotels on the outside there. As they come up, they've got to hit it right at 0 or be penalized a lap. Slowly, Steve.
Remarkably, the Pico American Dream on the inside, and Ken Muscatel got the middle. He's going to make a great start, and look at this. Again, the Pico, the Leland team, appearing to be down in power, and Muscatel is out of the gate like a scalded rabbit. Look at him go.
As we look from the O'Doul's eye on the sky, Muscatel with almost a rooster tail lead, though he hangs on to lane 2. This is a 3-lap event, and he's coming down the backstretch clean.
You see him leaving a lane for this boat, the Pico American Dream. That is not the way that boat normally runs. They have some kind of a problem with, they think, perhaps fuel in the Leland camp. But in the meantime, Dr. Ken Muscatel is driving one of the best races we've seen out of that boat in a long time.
Now, as far as the Pico's problem, not necessarily with the fuel itself, but
normally when a boat is down in power, John, it's not enough air or not enough fuel getting into the motor. Now, the new low-profile cowling we thought might be part of the problem, but the team tells us the computer says plenty of air. They are not getting enough fuel into the engine. We will perhaps learn more about that later.
let's learn more right now about how Ken Muscatel got such a good start. Watch him come to the left side of your screen with about 1 minute to go. This was during the break. And here goes Ken Muscatel.
You remember, John, we weren't sure he was going to make this heat. He was way behind in his timing points. He came across the infield, made a great start, and right now he's leading this race.
And as we watched Rick Christensen, we also saw he kind of bore out and gave him room. From the O'Doul's eye on the sky, we see Mark Evans trailing badly now on the Pico American Dream. And look at the big lead Ken Muscatel has opened up. By the way, the piston-powered boat, Master Tire, was in this heat but could not start. Boy, a very concerned Fred Leland on the shore.
Fred, as well as the rest of the Leland team, scratching their heads because they have a couple of boats here that are just not performing up to expectations. This one, the Pico American Dream, and there's our leader, the Dr. Ken Muscatel, in one of the oldest boats in the fleet, John.
The forensic psychologist has really got it rocking and rolling on the muddy Ohio today. Around the turn, into the last time in the back stretch in this three-lap race, and Ken Muscatel has got to be completely elated. This is so unusual for him.
The RS Easton's struggling a little bit, still under power, but obviously there's more of a problem there now. And look at this boat fly. That's the way Ken used to fly his 5- and 6-liter boats. He really has this boat running well.
Yeah, walking it just a little bit, but then right back down and solid on the water, and he's heading now for the finish line. Heat two-way will belong to Dr. Ken Muscatel. Look at him roll. 133 miles an hour the first lap, 137 the second, and coming up as he takes the checkered flag at 134 for the final lap. Wow, that's a really elated crew in the Miss Northwest pits. And a very dejected, I'm sure, Mark Evans of the Pico American Dream. Pico has got to find some answers, as does the third-place boat, Rick Christensen in the RS Easton Hotels. Your results now after 2 heats, 625 points for Ken Muscatel. But even with the trouble, Pico is not far behind. Steve is with the winner.
Ken, I know you're building a new boat back home. The old one looks pretty good right now.
Well, there's 2 older ones here. me and this boat. I think I'm older than it by about a week. But as long as this boat runs and stays in one piece, we're happy with it. And we're looking forward to the new boat, but this thing's still plenty fast.
As we say, a lot going on in Evansville this weekend. And Friday evening, some of the drivers, along with UHRA officials, of course, the commission, Bill Donor, took off for an evening of excitement aboard the Casino Aztar. There's the chief referee, Mike Noonan, and the effervescent Mark Evans, who served as our guide for the evening.
Ready to go. All right, the winning tickets. We're at the Casino Aztar in Evansville. I knew that. Going in for a little gambling, a little fun. We're going to have a good time. Hopefully, I got the lucky winning number right here with me. Hopefully, we'll win some bucks. You guys got any money on you? No money? Oh, well, I'll spend mine then. Come on in. So put one down? Okay. All right. Sounds good.
And you do the hard way to 10 also, I think?
Let's go. Come on, roll her in there. Hey, Waze, how did he do that? Yeah, awesome. Me too? All right, cool. Let's wing it. Here we go. Come on, baby. Phew. Hate it when that happens. She's out of there.
There's your chance, Evans. There's your chair.
No way, no way. Go ahead, Dave. How come you're not playing? Get in there. Get in there. Save a month for the slots. Blackjack didn't work. Craps didn't work. Maybe this is my game. Let's go. Come on, baby. Yeah. Score. Come on.
Who would you bet on in Heat 2B? How about the Big Red Boat? And Dave Villwock, keep it going. Welcome back to Thunder on the Ohio, the Ralph's Hydroplane Thunder Tour presented by Las Vegas. John Nicholson, Steve Montgomery along the banks of the Ohio in Evansville, where the folks are having a good time. But Mitch Evans and his crew might not be. The Appian Geronimo, the U-20, a little tough and late getting into the water here for Heat 2B. They're going to hustle now.
They got to put the cowling on the boat in the water. You don't see that very often.
The cowling is down, closed on the Budweiser, and Steve David is out on the water in the Art Construction. Here's the lineup: Budweiser, Appian Geronimo, if it makes it, Art Construction, and finally Carpenter Communications with Mike Weber driving.
Still no cowling on the Appian Geronimo. The crew working frantically to get that boat together. Mike Weber, John, we're going to find out if he's for real. This also one of the older boats in the fleet. Looked very good in a surprising victory in Heat 1A.
That, of course, is Mike and Lori Jones's boat. They have made Mike Weber the driver this year. Now here comes the Miss Budweiser, and our first look from the inside.
Look at that tremendous shot as Dave Villwock leaves the pits. You wonder about the need for a windshield wiper to get that water off the windshield. At 200 miles per hour, John, you really don't need it.
Now, if you look at the right spots on the left on your screen, there is a piece of plastic they've added. That's supposed to divert spray from the windshield.
And there is the cowling finally being battened down aboard the Appian Geronimo. Perhaps some new boat gremlins here. This team has really put a lot of work into the offseason. A lot of new equipment, a new Leland hull. Owner Jerry Rise and his team expected to be one of the top 3 or 4 boats on the season, and they probably will be, perhaps not today.
Steve David is out on the course and slicing and dicing. He figures to be the competition for the Budweiser in this heat. If anybody is going to give Dave Villwock some trouble, under 3.5 minutes to go, and the boats are up and roaring, except for the Appian Geronimo. Now, in the previous heat, Ken Muscatel got a lot closer to 0 before he got out there, and he won, so maybe it's a good sign. We'll see.
Speaking of clock starts, the guy driving this boat, Dave Villwock, a master. You can expect him to have that red nose right on the line, right on time. Mitch Evans aboard the Appian Geronimo. A thumbs up. The lid comes down. It appears they will make it out in time.
Welcome back to our Speed World coverage of Thunder on the Ohio in Evansville as we get set for the start of Heat 2B.
And we are going to let you listen in on the Racing Radio's conversation between Budweiser pilot Dave Villwock and his radio man, Lawrence Sawyer.
Going through the turn now. I'm trying to see if he's going to try to sneak up the inside. I don't think he can. 37 seconds. They're still behind you. It looks like everybody's going to go to the outside. 30 seconds. Okay, everybody's still outside of you. Watch your time. 24, 23, 22, 21. I think you're going to be slow. 8, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 11. Watch your time now. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mark, you already got half a
There is the start. Budweiser has the lead at the start. Steve David not able to do anything to move up and get even with him.
And that's critical because the qualifying speed for Steve David in the Art Construction, a heartbeat slower than the Budweiser. If Steve were able to get the inside, we could have quite a boat race. Right here, John, it's going to be very difficult for anybody to catch this boat. The Miss Budweiser, he has the inside and the lead.
And he looks very smooth. Dave Villwock, a very, very good driver. If he had any jitters, we suspect they were gone after the first heat. He's very confident in his ability and in the ability of this boat thanks to his crew. It looks really, really good.
You can just see the rooster tail of the boat running outside the Budweiser. That is Steve David in the Art Construction giving chase. What we have here is a race for second place. This is going to be all Budweiser if the big red boat stays together.
With not quite 2 laps to go in this 3-lap race, Dave Villwock would have to make a big mistake not to win his second heat in a row here in Evansville. There is owner Mike Jones talking to his driver Mike Weber. He got a win in the first heat, but it's not going to happen here.
You see, Steve David, one of the disadvantages being in second place, it's just not as smooth back there. And a great overhead shot from our O'Doul's eye in the sky of our leader. Now, Steve David goes to the inside. If he can stay there and Villwock leaves a lane for him, this could make a difference.
How much stronger is the Budweiser than the other boats, particularly the Art Construction? In fact, does Dave Villwock even have to get the inside lane? He got it here, and he's got a huge lead If he didn't get it, would it make a big difference?
This early in the season, we don't really know the answer to that. The qualifying speed of Jim Harvey's boat with Steve David driving surprised everybody. He virtually tied the Budweiser, and that's why we go back to the start once again, John. It's going to be very critical. The boat on the inside with a tremendous advantage. Now we begin to spread out the field a bit as we look at our leader one more time. The Appian Geronimo up and running. It's looking more like it should now. That is Jim Harvey's crew, by the way, on the dock, scratching their heads a little bit, wondering what it would take to catch that red boat.
Well, the red boat, 140 miles an hour was the lap speed the first time around. 134 only on the second. Then he may be easing back on the throttle with that big lead.
We asked Bernie last year if he minded us calling this thing the Red Rocket, which it normally is. He says, I really like it when you call it Miss Budweiser. So we will do that, Bernie, as much as possible, as Dave Villwock is going to cruise to another victory. And it's been a long time since he lost a race when he was right side up, John.
Indeed. So there it is. Miss Budweiser, the Red Rocket, takes the checkered flag. To the applause of the Miss Budweiser crew on the shore. Steve David, indeed, in second place in Arc Construction. Dave Villwock indeed is back, and the Miss Budweiser team off to a great start defending its team championship on the unlimited hydroplane circuit. Here are the results of Heat 2B and the points after 2 heats. Budweiser perfect so far, and Appian Geronimo trailing badly right now. Let's go to Steve with Dave Villwock.
David, you realize you've won every race you've been in for a long time except one.
Yeah, we're trying to let that happen again. You know, wrecking the boat, that is. So, yeah, the team's done a great job, you know, at getting this boat prepared. And I'm just trying to get it to the starting line on time, you know. It's fast, and, you know, all they have to do is, you know, make sure that I get everything out of that equipment that was brought here.
You like that clock start?
Yeah, it's fun for me. You know, it's fun. It's fun for the team. You know, hopefully it's the best show.
Today's Alamo Almanac is brought to you by Alamo Rent-A-Car. It's drive happy time again. Ready, set, go. The early years of hydroplane racing saw open cockpits, exposing drivers to all of the elements. After several deaths in the sport, Bernie Little decided to do something about it. He introduced the first canopy on a hydroplane in 1985. If it looks familiar, it should. It's based on the cockpit of an F-16. Since then, improvements and modifications have been made, all with the same goal in mind: to help avoid disasters, crashes, such as this one. The Alamo Almanac has been sponsored by Alamo, where renting a car is fun. Let Alamo put you smiles ahead with drive happy deals and services. The Unlimiteds are not the only boats racing here on the Ohio. The Unlimited Lights are racing too, and it should be a mighty competitive final. We'll see how it stacks up when our Speed World coverage of Thunder on the Ohio continues. Greetings from Evansville, I guess you could say. John Nicholson along with Steve Montgomery, and we're going to get a little light, but still plenty of thunder in our next event. The Unlimited Lights are not quite as big nor as fast as the Unlimiteds, but they are plenty fast. The fastest will do more than 170 miles an hour in the straightaway. They run on automobile engines, not airplane engines. They make plenty of noise. This is the defending champion camp, Alamo, back there. Crew Chief Duff Taylor talking with the champion driver, Bo Scheid. They ran away with the title last year and begin the quest for another right here in Evansville. Their biggest challenge is likely to come from Wildfire. Steve Montgomery's in that camp.
Well, John, George Stratton and the Wildfire are still perhaps best known for that spectacular 360 in Kelowna. As far as we know, the only race boat ever to do that and make it back to the pit area. But he also won 3 races in '97. He'll be back very strong in '98. Other contenders, keep an eye on a brand new Pegasus driven by Steve Weber and reliable Randy Haas in the Miss Leroy.
Here is a look at the semifinal heat earlier. like the Unlimited lights also now on the clock start, dicing for position out here on the Ohio River, and that can make it a bit dicey.
Well, the clock was to become a big factor, but first you saw George Stratton and the Wildfire run right into one of the buoys. Now, that's normally a penalty, but they decided that Bo Scheid in the Alamo had pushed him over there, so it was the Alamo that was penalized. Now, just before the start, creeping along too early, we found out later almost everybody had jumped the gun.
Here's a boat that didn't jump the gun, but didn't help any. Pegasus winding up dead in the water. Steve Weber in the cockpit, frustrated. Here are the boats that were racing. Bo Scheid jumped to the front, but he had the penalty assessed.
And Randy Haas in the Miss Leroy running very, very well. Always a contender right on the tail of the Alamo, and he would eventually cruise to victory on the basis of the penalty to the Alamo. That is the Leroy on your right, the Alamo on the left.
And here are your results. Indeed, Randy Haas takes first place with Charlie Wiggins. It's High Pressure coming in second. The last four boats either did not start or did not finish. So no points. That was then. This is now. We set for the Unlimited Lights finals, and let's see if with one heat under their belt they can do this start a little better, Steve.
Once again, the start will be absolutely critical. We know that the Wildfire and the Alamo are considered the faster boats here. The Leroy runs very well. The Pegasus, if he puts his nose in there. Stevie Weber, if he makes a good start, could be a major factor. It looks like the yellow boats are just about side by side, but there's a lot of room in between them now as they come right toward us with the clock ticking down. That is the Alamo out ahead at the start. Bo Scheid setting the early pace if he's a legal starter.
But there is the big if, Steve. We now get the word he jumped the gun. Bo Scheid again. We're on board with him here on the Alamo. He really moves it, but he's going to have to get an extra penalty on it.
At this point, Johnny's a pace boat. The race is back behind him. It's not a race for second place anymore because the leader has been penalized 1 minute, and that, of course, is a lap and then some on this race course. You're looking at the Alamo coming out of the first turn. He is leading on the race course, but not in the standings. We'll have to go back and see how the race is going for second and third place.
And as we take a look back, Charlie Wiggins in High Pressure is in second place, so he is, in fact, our leader.
His dad also is crew chief and engine builder Milton Wiggins out of the Atlanta area. Will be very excited. He should have the word by now. Meanwhile, the Alamo crew knows that they have been set back. Not a happy group there as Bo Scheid goes by.
They're saying, boy, our boat is running just great. Unfortunately, it's not going to do us any good. This must not be our weekend here in Evansville.
Look at Charlie Wiggins flying that boat. He has the High Pressure running very, very well. He'd be challenging the Alamo even without the penalty, John.
He's going after him. He's right there, really, at his rooster tail. Right up on him now as they go around the curve.
Once again, the view out the front window of the Alamo. Nobody in front of Bo Scheid, as there very seldom was last year. We have to look back in the field and see what happened to his arch rival George Stratton in the Wildfire. But right now, we have a surprise leader in our Unlimited Light final, running just out to the right here, and that is Charlie Wiggins in the High Pressure. Look at him hook it on the skid fin as he comes through the second turn for the second time.
You've got to wonder if he knows that there is a penalty on Bo Scheid because he is driving so hard trying to catch up with him.
Those boats, just like the big ones, do have radio communication with the shore. And now a challenge coming up on the inside from another white boat. That may be Randy Haas in the Leroy, and we could have a pretty good race here with the two white and blue boats. Look at this, though, as Wiggins goes by the Alamo. That's got to be a surprise.
But he had a long way to get by him. It could be the angle, yet does he in fact have the lead? You can't see him yet from inside the Alamo. They're very, very close.
It could also be that Bo Scheid has received word of the penalty and is not going to break anything to try to stay ahead of this boat.
And now it doesn't look that way. It looks as if Bo Scheid is saying, I don't care if I've got a penalty. You're not going to beat me across the finish line, Charlie Wiggins. Bo on the inside, Charlie on the outside, and they head for the finish around the final turn. Charlie a bit wide, Bo to the inside. Looks as if he should be able to hold him off. He won't win, but some kind of a moral victory by at least getting there first. Way wide now for Charlie Wiggins as they head for the finish line. And there is a very happy Milton Wiggins on the shore, applauding Charlie, who gets the win here in the first Unlimited Light final of the year. Number 10 didn't quite get past Bo Scheid, but with the penalty, he's an easy winner. So 700 points to High Pressure here. Miss Leroy also with 700, but does not get the victory, and Alamo winds up with 450 points. Charlie Wiggins pops the top and drifts in towards shore for the celebration. Meanwhile, we'll check the unhappy half of the scoreboard, in which everybody involved gets no points at all. Here's Steve to talk with the winner, Charlie Wiggins.
Charlie, that's a nice win for you and the old man here, huh?
Oh, yeah, it really is. We've been waiting a long time for this one. So a few years back, we won here in Evansville, and we're just glad to do it again today. We want to thank Pontiac. This is a Pontiac engine in here for Pontiac, Thunder Island, Ohio, and ConAgra for sponsoring our unlimited lights.
Next up, the big boys. And this is the biggest of the big boys, Miss Budweiser. 2 starts, 2 wins so far. Here's the guy who wants the challenge and has probably the best chance, Steve David. We'll see you next. Here on the banks of the Ohio, we're just about set for the unlimited final. We take a look at our construction. Steve David, the driver, hoping to be the guy who can knock off Dave Villwock and Budweiser for the first time in this season.
Push him hard.
Kenny Washer, former member of that Steve Woomer team, here helping out with Jim Harvey's effort. Kenny lives up in Madison, came down to the race, ended up with a uniform on. Steve David in this boat can definitely contend for the championship here, John, if he can get that inside lane on the final. So all of that dicing leading up to the 1-minute gun and finally the run down to the start line is going to be critical here.
And there we are now inside 5 minutes on the clock. Steve David already out and about to get it up on plane. He doesn't want to get caught back at the dock, as a couple people almost did earlier today.
And at some point this season, this team, the Appian Geronimo, will become a contender. Will it be right here in the final heat? Might be just a little bit early for this team.
Well, now Steve David has a problem out in the water, a lot of smoke. Oh, this could make him rue what he said to our Steve just a few minutes ago back on shore.
Steve David in the Arc Construction Prime Star gets one more clock start and a chance to beat the Budweiser. If you get the inside, can you run with him?
Well, we've been nice to them all day, but now we're getting ready for this final, so now it's time to kick their butt. So I can't tell them in advance because you guys are going to run down and tell them because they'll offer you some free bud or something. So it's a big secret, but we're going to kick their butt.
Well, first he's going to have to get up and running if he's going to kick anybody's butt, never mind Budweiser, Steve.
Absolutely. The only thing he's kicking right now is the ignition switch as Dave Villwock and the Budweiser go by him right there. Let's listen in once again to Dave and his radio man, Lawrence Sawyer.
Okay, Steve David is trying to get on plane. You got the Appian and the Pico on the back chute.
And now there is Steve David getting the Arc Construction going again, so Dave Villwock will be told about that too.
Okay, Steve David is up and running. You got 2 boats ahead of you.
Mitch Evans running down the backstretch in the Appian Geronimo. Looking better than he has all day. Could step up and be a contender.
Pico is closer to you, ahead of you.
You can hear the team keeping an eye on the Pico, John. Even with the struggles they've had today, they expect them to be the competition, if not now, at some point this season.
You watch yourself in there. Yeah, I see big rollers down in one, so watch yourself down in there.
You get some idea how valuable that radio man, the spotter, is. You heard him warning Dave Villwock of some rollers down in the first turn that had been left by the boats on a previous milling lap, and Dave is going through them right now, but it helps, John, that he knew they were there.
And we should remind you that although we are hearing the Budweiser communication, everybody has communication, and so is getting the benefit of what the folks on shore can tell them.
Now, 2.5 minutes before the start is a little too early to have established a lane that you can hold. But at some point between now and about the 1-minute gun, you can bet that Steve David will make a strong move to try to take the inside.
The final is coming up. ESPN Speed World coverage of the Pontiac Grand Am Thunder on the Ohio has been brought to you by Las Vegas. Anything can happen and usually does when it comes to special events. By Ralph's. And by O'Doul's non-alcoholic brew. It's what beer drinkers drink when they're not drinking beer.
Talk about a cakewalk. Jump on a plane, bang. You're driving on the most famous strip of highway in the world.
Charlie.
Yes, sir. Backstage with showgirls.
Hey, how much time do you guys have?
What a dream.
need a submarine to get that one out, Colonel.
These guys are supposed to be the king of golf.
Thank you very much.
This town is a fantasy. There really is only one Las Vegas.
The photos of the future. Rich Crystal Big Prints. What a difference.
Your Rich Frequent Photo Card means 2 sets of big prints and a new roll of film with each roll developed.
Or
25% off Rich Crystal Big Prints.
say cheese with Ritz.
Whether you live in White Plains, New York, or across the country in Orange, California, you can count on the folks in the red vest. With thousands of stores from coast to coast, good help is always easy to find. America knows Ace is a place for the helpful hardware folks.
There'll be more than one star in the Lone Star State when Junior and the M's come to play a little long ball with Ron, Don, and the Rangers. Mariners, Rangers. Tomorrow at 8 on ESPN.
It's a grand game.
Welcome back to Ralph's Hydroplane Thunder Tour presented by Las Vegas. We're set for the final of Thunder on the Ohio. John Nicholson with Steve Montgomery. Here is the lineup for the final heat. Steve David, Mike Weber, Mitch Evans, and so on down the line to the U1 Miss Budweiser, Dave Villwock. Again, they are dicing to see who gets what lane. You don't have lane lineups this year with the clock start.
And look at this, John, as we go on board with Dave Villwock and the Miss Budweiser. He is on the outside. We wondered what would happen if he was pushed out there, and we're about to find out. As once again, his radio man counts him down to the start. He's going to be on time, but way outside. Steve David over in lane 2 making a good start. The leader is going to be Mark Evans in the Pico American Dream at the start. If he had the horsepower, he could win this race from there. But Steve David is going to go by him in the Arc Construction and take the early lead.
As we watch from the O'Doul's eye in the sky, next to one another on the inside, Pico and then Arc Construction way on the outside right now. In lane 3, it is Miss Budweiser.
And the Budweiser running a surprising third. We may have written off the Pico a little too soon. He appeared to have pretty good boat speed at the entrance pin. Now it's a 2-boat race, though, as the Bud and the Arc are side by side. Remember, the boat on the inside runs a shorter race course and has an advantage. And way on the inside, Mark Evans looked like he might have hit a buoy.
Pico falling back and in trouble now. Evans trying to make a move, and Steve David still has the lead. But from inside the Budweiser, now we see open water, which means Budweiser's making a move. David's still in the lead, but Budweiser's moving up, and there goes Dave Villwock.
Tremendous boat race here. Steve David still with the advantage on the inside. A great shot here from our O'Doul's eye in the sky as the Budweiser skips out just a bit. You see Steve David on the inside. He controls the radius of the turn, and again, he's running a shorter race course. Great side-by-side racing right here.
Keep in mind, this is a 5-lap final. The earlier heats were 3 laps. Steve David will have to hold on for 5 full laps to get the better of Budweiser as he walks it a bit around the turn, Dave Villwock does.
Dave Villwock is driving hard. He's got the red rocket flying, but Steve David with the advantage on the inside is going to be the leader as they come down to complete lap 2 of the 5-lap final. But here comes the Budweiser one more time. That's just too much boat speed on the outside.
The Budweiser will do in the vicinity of 200 miles an hour down the straightaway, and there are plenty of straightaways, 10 to be exact, in a 5-lap race for him to make up water on Arc Construction.
Interesting point about straightaways, John, is that the front straight here in Evansville is not straight. It actually has a bend in it. It's sort of a big D, the shape of this race course, and it does affect the boat speed as they come down that front chute. Now the Bud moves out a bit. Steve David still has the inside, but it looks like the horsepower and the handling of the Budweiser and Dave Villwock, who is driving very, very hard, may have taken over this final heat now.
This is something we talked about earlier, Steve. If Steve David should get the inside in a race such as this one, would it really matter? Is Bud that much stronger? Now it starts to look as if indeed the Bud is that much stronger.
Look how rough the Ohio River has become with these big boats out there churning it up. That becomes a factor. Dave Villwock has the best water. Mitch Evans, by the way, in the Appian Geronimo, running back a bit, but looking better. And this boat simply not able to challenge today. But that won't be the case all season for Mark Evans and the Pico American Dream.
Budweiser now with the lead. Villwock walking it just a little bit.
slapping into some big rollers there on the Kentucky side, and those can become a factor. A couple of seasons ago, the Budweiser came apart on this river, John, and was unable to finish the race. That's how brutal this Ohio River can be.
And again, you have to keep in mind, even with a pretty good lead, something can always go wrong. You certainly hope it doesn't, but it's not as if you get a lead and then it's a cakewalk, especially, Steve, as you say, in the conditions getting rougher with each successive lap.
Nobody knows better than Dave Villwock how quickly complete success can become complete disaster, as we witnessed last year. Now you see the big lead that the Budweiser has opened up over the second and third place boats, and there they are. That is Steve David in that Art Construction Prime Star boat, which has had a very good day, and running behind him in third place is Mark Evans in the Pico American Dream. But if he did hit a buoy, as I thought he did earlier, he might be set back a bit more.
No setback apparently in the cards for Dave Villwock. He won the first heat, he won the second heat, and apparently is going to take the championship here in Evansville. That'll be 3 for 3 and well on his way to how he started last year, just beating everybody, heat after heat after heat. What a powerful boat and a powerful team. So here it comes around the last turn and heading for the finish. There's the checkered flag. Miss Budweiser, Dave Villwock, champion of Thunder on the Ohio. Celebration, as so very often, from the Budweiser crew on the dock. Steve David in Art Construction, second place, not a bad showing at all. But he would have liked to be a little closer. Gave him a good run for a couple of laps, did Steve David. And it turns out Appy and Geronimo with Mitch Evans is our third place boat, because Pico indeed did hit a buoy and is penalized. So Mitch Evans, after a difficult time earlier in the day, gets a third here. And then Mark Evans, as we check the final results, Miss Budweiser, a perfect day today, picking up 1,200 points. Steve is with the new Bud crew chief.
Mark Smith, your first win as a crew chief. Can you relax a little bit now?
I hope so. Not right now.
Congratulations.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Bud's for you, Bud.
Yeah.
Well, this O'Doul's is for the high points, and after one event, including qualifying points, Miss Budweiser is up front, but not very far behind is Art Construction. Let's go to Steve with Dave Villwock.
Hey. You're back. Both of you, it's been a long journey, but David, I think you're all the way back.
It's good to be back. Like I say, my thanks to Mark Smith, Lauren Sawyer, most of all, Bernie Little, Anheuser-Busch, the people that have so much confidence in me to put me back in this race boat to do what I've loved in this life, best of all, which is race boats. So they gave me an awesome machine today, and they made us earn our credit, and that's something I really, really enjoy. You know, it was fun. Steve David put up a heck of a fight, and we had to use all the Miss Budweiser steam to motor on around the outside, so that was fun. Good racing.
Good racing indeed by Dave Villwock once again on the winner's circle. And by the way, you don't have to be a driver or owner to join the UHRA winner's circle. Just call the number on your screen and get aboard. Our onboard communications today provided by Motorola Racing Radios. And that will just about wrap it up from the shores of the Ohio. A beautiful, sunny, breezy day. Congratulations to Dave Villwock, Bernie Little, all the Budweiser team. First of probably many wins this season. For Steve Montgomery, John Nicholson, thanks for joining us. This has been a production of Diamond P Sports in association with ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.